This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. This is a Monday morning or afternoon after the fight that happened on Saturday night. I'm joined by Deji's manager, Liam Chivers. Liam, I think we'll just go straight into it. The KSI fight, what did you make of the ending?
Oh, JJ, yeah. Such a disappointment, isn't it, for him? I thought he looked great. I think it was going one way. Yeah, the whole elbow thing. So, I mean, I've watched it back myself, like everybody, a million times, just to see if he did use his glove in any way. But I think the thing is, Fournier was clearly rocked from the overhand just before it. In fact, two shots, and he was very unsteady on his feet right at that moment. So I think anything JJ hit him with at that point could have put him out. Um, if you watch it, JJ's already committed to that to the shot. It was going to be like sort of a quick 1-2, and Joe was so light on his feet at that point, unsteady rather on his feet. So when he sort of stumbled. JJ was already, if you see, he's already started throwing the right hand, and Joe just comes off center a little bit, and JJ misses him. Obviously, when he's turning his hand over as well, your arm's already going to be there as well. So it looks really bad, doesn't it? At some angles, as if like it's a clear elbow. It's not. It's just he's just turning his hand over, and Joe's just gone off center. So, and he misses him or grazes him with the glove. So the point is it's a clear accidental elbow. It's a shame that the fight had to end like that. The problem that's going to have now is, I mean, I think JJ, there doesn't need to be any call of rematch or disqualification or anything like that, because that's absolute rubbish. It's just, it probably will be a no contest though, just by the rules, because it was so early in the fight. When a fight stops, I know the Wasserman and PBA rules, I'm sure they'll be published somewhere you can find them. I've inquired about them myself, just for our knowledge for our own fighters in these sort of situations. And because this is a 6 round fight, it was only in the second round this happened. Not enough rounds have gone by for it to be an actual result when a fight stops for a reason like this. It's like having a headbutt, an accidental headbutt, which cuts an eye and the fight has to stop. If it was sort of after round 4, this is exactly the same thing. It's an absolute accidental elbow is brought on the end of the fight. There can't be a result because you can't go to the scorecards at that point. So if it was later on in the fight and it had happened, it would have gone to the score. This is if it's appealed, of course, which it sounds like obviously Joe's going to do that. He won't get any disqualification, Joy, at all. But it could come back and probably will come back as a no contest because it was in the second round and therefore you can't go to the scores for stopping the fight. But
Do you,
I think it's clear there's an elbow there, isn't there? It's an accidental elbow. So
you reckon
therefore,
it will be a no con? You reckon it will be a no contest?
yeah, I do.
Well, okay. And how long do we hear? Because Joe, he put his thing.
I don't know. I'm not involved in it. And obviously Fournier's probably already gone in with his appeal right away or right now today. I mean, who knows? His management might say, "Oh, don't bother, don't be that guy," and all this sort of things. Just take it. But I think he felt so strongly about it. Looking at your interview on Saturday night, he actually, I mean, he might come down from, when he watches it back, he should himself through the disappointment of his performance, how JJ really dominated him. He will come down and probably switch off from, oh yeah, it's not a disqualification, but I should appeal it because I don't want a loss on my record. That should be the way he goes about it, because it'll just get thrown out of court, so to speak, if he tries to say, oh, I want the win, I want the disqualification, because it's clearly not a purposeful elbow. It's just it's brought an end to a fight in an unfortunate way, because it's quite clear the elbow was what knocked him out. But if he'd hit him with the glove, the fist, I think it had knocked him out anyway. If it had missed completely, it would only have been a few more, no, less than a minute, you'd have finished him anyhow. So it's just really unlucky. It's just taking the shine off JJ's win there. But it's definitely not going to be an overturned decision. It's just whether it's a no contest or not, in my mind.
Do you reckon there's any chance they can run it back to get a clear victory in August and then do the Tommy?
No need. I don't think there's enough interest in it. I think JJ showed his quality, and I think people will. It's a shame he didn't get to show it over more rounds, I guess, because it maybe slightly prematurely finished the round. It was going one way. I think JJ's just shown enough. He's in another class, another level when it comes to this. I think yes, it's one less victory potentially if they take away the victory, but I don't think that really matters in the scheme of things, particularly if he does fight Tommy Fury next, because then it's all like, that's the one people are going to compare him and Jake about anyhow, which is all that JJ probably cares about.
Do you think the Tommy Fury fight does happen next? And if so, what weight?
Question for JJ and Mams really now, that one, but yeah, Tommy will have to come right down when he under 180 for sure. I think Tommy would want it above that. JJ would probably want to fight at 175 against most people. But I think he'd probably take that fight at 180, wouldn't he? Because Tommy's a big lad.
He looked even bigger. He's blown up a lot more since the Jake Paul fight. Yeah, I
Oh, he
guess
has. Yeah,
how
he's not.
heavy is he's not 200 pounds right now, is he?
Tommy probably walks around at least between 190 and 200. Yeah,
That's
but
heavy.
he's not in camp, isn't he? So
Yeah. But then JJ and Tommy, is that not a massive risk for JJ, or do you think it's a calculated one?
no, I think he's shown he can hang with a professional. I think he showed he hopefully has got enough out of that. Aside from all the backstabbing and the Jake Paul comments and all the hate and all that, because people love to jump on small things. Well, it's not a small thing, but an outcome. I think JJ has shown that is the clear next step. He has he shows he can compete with really good fighters, and I think now it's just a case of if Jake Paul won't fight it next, let's fight the guy who beat Jake Paul and put it to bed that way. I mean, it may end up eventually in Jake Paul anyway, but I think that is the obvious next fight. Regardless, don't bother running it back with Fournier. I don't think people will care about it. I think JJ showed enough to move on from it, regardless of if it's a no contest or a win.
Is it a bad look on Misfits and the PBA if it's not made a no contest?
Well, it's got nothing to do with Misfits. And also, I think when you have an appeal like that, the appeal will go to PBA and they'll go by the rules which Wasserman and have set for Misfits. So that's why I'm pretty sure it will come back as a no contest. If it didn't, again, it wouldn't be their fault. Because I think when you have something like this, you tend to have an independent. It goes to an independent sort of juror of sorts to just to ascertain the severity of it. So somebody else would judge whether they think it's accidental, and if it's deemed accidental, then the PBA will literally just read the rule that's in a clause on the rules, which will say about this was an accidental end to the fight. It wasn't enough rounds, therefore it's no contest. It literally says that. I've read it. I've seen it. That's what the rule will say. But it won't be. It's not. Doesn't look on bad on Misfits at all. It's not for them. It's for the. It won't look bad on the PBA unless somebody in between, doesn't communicate. I think they'll just, the appeal will come in. It'll be looked at just by the rules, and the independent people will decide the severity of it, and then they'll say yes, it is this. Here's your reply. It's all black and white.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be on Misfits, it'd just be on the PBA, I guess. Moving on to Tommy Fury fight. Do you reckon August, or do you reckon that's a bit too soon?
I think it might be a bit soon. I think obviously JJ's a very busy guy. He's got other commitments as well. I think we're looking at we're in the latter end of May now, a couple of months. I don't know. Obviously, they've got to make that fight first. You can't just book a date. I know there's lots of Misfits dates flying around. Some I know about, some I don't. There's always additional cards and additional structures in the UK, US, overseas. They're constantly moving. So until there's sort of a fight signed and agreed, they can't really lock down an exact date. I'm sure they've got a hold on various venues and at various times, but you can't say this is the other thing, venues aren't that easy to just suddenly book if they've not already got one, a couple of months out, like the O2 Arena, for example, way back, in the day of KSI Logan 1, that would have been the chosen venue, but it wasn't available for like a year. So that's why it went to Manchester. Of course they could do Manchester. There'll always be somewhere they can do, but it all comes down to, I don't know what Tommy's thoughts are. As you say, he's big unit at the moment. He's got quite a bit of weight to lose and a camp to do himself. So look, I really don't know. I don't know how far along really they are on that negotiation. That's a question for Mams, really.
Yeah. I'll drag Mams into an interview. I'll make him do one.
I'm sure he will.
I reckon. Well, Misfits are having a reshuffle of dates. So the dates they put out earlier, I know it's for a fact. The dates they put out earlier at the start of this year, the latter half, so the second half of the year, they're going to move all those dates around. But one thing I do want to get your thoughts on is Gideon told me he's fighting in September, and this wasn't him trolling, it's him being honest. So other big stars, I guess Gideon's huge. He averaged 5 to 8 million views per video on the channel. Do you think he's one of the big stars that when KSI does retire, he kind of takes on the role of being the face, and other stars like himself, he's already massive?
Well, if he's going to fight this year, that's hopefully long before JJ's deciding to disappear and leave it. But I think what is needed right now is they definitely need a strong US face, especially while Logan Paul's not fighting. Because you look at these events the UK sell out and they're fantastic. The UK crowd come out hugely, don't they? Even when it's like a local event, like a Swingler headline. In the American two non-pay-per-view events over there, crowds have been fairly sparse. There hasn't been sort of like that figurehead. People like Dean and Slim, albeit how good or not a fighter, or how you like their personality or not, they don't have that draw yet. They just don't. A Gideon does. Maybe, assuming again you have to engage that audience and take them with a journey. And this is why JJ was so strong and outperformed even the Pauls right at the start there, because he took them from the journey right through the Weller stages to Logan. Everyone had bought into that content and they were fully engaged with it. Just because you're a big YouTuber and you decide to box in a couple of months, I think the beauty, I mean, it's hard to say, but you'd think Gideon is big enough, and with the friends he has like Logan and JJ and the Misfits brand behind it now, you can superpower that. You can speed that engagement, as we say, up. Someone like that is needed in America to headline a show out there, because at the moment I still feel it's very successful in the UK, but nobody's really stepped up as that, like you say, that face of Misfits in the US yet, and Gideon could be that guy.
Well, Misfits, the good thing they are doing is they are expanding to other countries. We need to got a show in Berlin, which I'm still a bit baffled about. Why Berlin? Because they haven't got that many German influencers to headline. So I have to ask Lance about that. But I don't know. I wouldn't mind a trip to Berlin. All the same, the Philippines. After Saul Papi losing, I'm going to see him tomorrow actually. But after him losing, cool. Can he still get the big Philippines card next year? Do you reckon, or maybe at the end of this year?
Yeah, I think maybe a comeback fight, just readdress where he's fallen down, get him back to where he was, and then move into that. That would be still there's no fear. Papi's not going anywhere. Yes, that was a big chip off the bubble of the Papi bubble, if you like, of how the golden boy, you couldn't do anything wrong. Then suddenly this loss really has burst that. But I think he has the talent and the desire to wipe that slate clean and go again and put a good performance in. I just think, I mean, on the Papi thing, he's a great guy. I do think that everything was so positive him, on that train of going to superstardom and headlining a Philippine show and everything, and talks of Pacquiao and tag teams with Mayweather. That was all great. And, everyone, even Eddie Hearn's there saying, oh, he's the most, likely to turn professional. All of that is great. And that builds your ego and your confidence. But I do think the thing that undid him in the last week or so, and you could see it in the fight, I think, as well, was everyone suddenly was having a go at him for only doing the 3 rounds, weren't they? And all week you could see he was probably getting a little bit wound up by it. And I think he tried to just take it out on Anthony. I think he was just looking for that one shot and just forgot to box him. It just seemed to distract him. Just didn't seem to. Now, I know, like, his promotional business, they're not sort of real boxing managers, and it was a financial thing because they thought, well, we're not giving you 4 rounds unless you pay more and all that. It shouldn't really have been about that. I think if Papi had put his foot down a little bit, and his coach as well, they could have superseded that decision, really, for his good. I think that if you're the better boxer, or you're considered a good boxer, you want as many rounds as you can. And I just think that decision of going to the 3 rounds it affected the perception of him over. So sometimes things just can't be a financial decision. I think career-wise, it was a bit of a strange call to go with the 3 rounds. I'm not saying a 4-round fight would have gone any differently, but maybe Papi was just looking for that one-shot bang a bit more than he would have been.
Do you think the idea they'll have him box one more time, probably on the next KSI card, so that's how I guess they like to manage him, and then or later this year or early next year, they do the rematch in the Philippines with him and Anthony?
Oh, maybe. Look, things evolve real quick, don't they? I mean, Anthony, who knows where they'll build with him? Do people now think, oh yeah, he's a legitimate influencer boxer at a high level? Is he now the face of, Misfit, or one of the only undefeated Misfits fighters, along with Slim, obviously JJ? Or do people think, well, do they turn a little bit against him and say, well, you've infiltrated the influencer world. You're not really an influencer. You are a fighter, and we still can't credit you as an influencer champion. It's very difficult for Anthony. He's doing everything he can. I do think there will be people. I don't think people will be scared of him, even though he's beaten Papi. I think that there are strong fighters around that sort of class, that weight class, which is quite a big one with Anthony. He can go up and down, can't he? Who would take him on now? But he's a real disruptor, isn't it? It's quite hard to know how much a loss to Anthony Taylor really matters in the Papi situation. But maybe Papi does need to come back and avenge that,
well,
rather than just ignore him.
Well, so Papi was calling out Tommy Fury a lot, and then Tommy Fury beat him. So I guess that kind of puts 23 above him for now until Papi rematches him, then could beat him. So I guess that's where
Tommy.
you kind of rank him. Well, 23
Oh,
beat.
Fury did fight him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was. I think Anthony's got a lot better since then. But I'm not saying Anthony will ever beat Tommy Fury. I don't think so. Um, but yeah, it's all about Papi, isn't it? And getting that Papi train back on track. And I don't think you could just go straight to the Philippines next and say, like, let's go and headline. I think he needed another couple before then anyway, regardless of losing to Anthony.
Yeah. Anything else? That's pretty much everything. Anything else? Oh, Deji. Can't think about Deji.
Yeah.
Let's try Deji's win. Do you think, obviously, the amount of time he's been boxing, the 5 years, and Swarms in under a year, he should maybe stop Swarms or try to get him out there a little bit more?
I think Deji should get more credit than perhaps. I think the people in there are giving him great credit. I think Deji looked great. I think you say, yeah, 5 years, but he hasn't been boxing 5 years. He's taken big chunks of time out. This is the thing with Deji. When he's got a fight or looking to fight, he switches on and off. Like Daly said after the fight, he was at 60% because he took all those 3 months off against after Mayweather because there was no fight. He's very much driven towards a date and a goal is Deji. So it's not like he's been fighting for 5 years, but you could see he had more experience. And I thought he looked the best he's looked in there, regardless of whether you thought he was super mega fit and slick. He was showing good variation and he just boxed at the distance and to win the fight, really. I think what happened was Swarms just gave him nothing. After Deji had hurt him fairly early on, Swarms was just looking for that one counter, wasn't he? He was just covered up the whole time. And Deji was just like, well, I'll just land enough pumps. Hopefully you'll lower your guard. I will get you clean. But Swarms was so tight and he just didn't give anything, did he? He was very, very, very withdrawn and a little bit dull, really. I think, therefore the fight went one way. Deji, he became a bit of a punch bag, but Deji knew not to go for the rope-a-dope thing and gas himself out, just hitting his hands and his guard too much. But I thought Deji showed some good variations, a good distance, and really relaxed in there as well. There was no panic, even though he couldn't quite get through the guard all the time of Swarms because he was just being so negative. But I think against a fighter like that, I thought Deji just looked really good. I thought he'd have done that again against a lot of people that night. So yeah, Deji's. Everyone's already said he's got the great skill. Daly said it. Leon said it. He's got such great potential, and I think it was coming through more so on Saturday night than we've seen before. So yeah, it's just a case of keeping that train rolling. And don't forget, I mean, Swarms obviously was a bigger bloke before. The weight we agreed the fight at. Obviously, Swarms had to come down. Deji had to stay around and stay fairly high. I think Deji can come down in weight too. So he's got some flexibility on his weight class as well. So it's going to be interesting where we go next in terms of opponent.
Where are you thinking? Any
Oh, we
thoughts?
still like the usual name. I mean, obviously there's Liam Payne there, ringside.
Has Ian Payne boxed before though? That's the thing.
I think he trains, but I think it just every time I ask about him, it just seems so far fetched, and that it won't come to fruition with him. He seems I think money is one main factor, but also getting Liam Payne to commit to account. Like he said at the fight, I saw one of the interviews. He's about to go on tour. So it's like that ain't happening this year. And then the usual names with Deji. The other two that crop up, obviously Bryce Hall's name will never go away, but he is such this history of just stringing people along, person after person, just for the social media thing. But Bryce is, I've always felt Bryce has always wanted Deji over anybody else, regardless of who else in the meantime beefs with him and looks like they may get a fight with him or not. It would take Deji to call out Bryce. Maybe Deji did a bit too well, I think, on Saturday for Bryce to even go there this year. But
what about Taylor Holder? Taylor Holder.
But no, maybe we'll see. Yeah, someone like Taylor down the line. See who he comes back against and how that goes. I'd say the one that really is interesting is, and obviously it depends how well he does in this Kingpin tournament, but Winderson. So let's just say Winderson, even if he was to lose to Kenny in the semi-final or Gibb in the final or whatever, if he shows more quality of what he's shown, he's a firm, if he wants to box again, he's going to be firmly involved anyway because he's a megastar over in Brazil and on social media, in any way you look at it. He would be a perfect opponent for Deji for a big fight if KSI didn't take Winderson. So if Winderson blew through this tournament, I don't think he will, but let's say he did and he won the tournament and JJ then wanted him, okay. But if JJ doesn't want him because he's with fighting Tommy Fury or Jake Paul or whoever, who's next in line? It has to be Deji. And I think whether that's in Brazil or the UK, that would be a great fight.
Well, I saw Chris Boyne, who's head of Misfits, at the bar on Saturday night,
Kingpin.
sitting next. Sorry, that's really bad of me. So head of Kingpin. There you go, Liam.
Mhm.
He was sitting next to Mams. I thought a little bit funny. It's kind of like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren sitting next to each other, which
Yeah.
they've never met. Um, but he told me, I'm not sure if I'm saying this or not, but he told me Winterson is signed to Kingpin for 4 years, and that's a locked contract. Very difficult to get out of.
I doubt it's 4 years, but there may be a multi-fight deal there with a period of time on it. Here's the thing, though: there's no reason you can't do a co-pro there. Misfits. JG represents Misfits. Winterson, Kingpin. They're sat together, like you say. That we can do. They're working in conjunction, not in conjunction, but in the same ecosystem with Misfits and then the Kingpin tournament anyway. Why can't you do a co-promotion? Misfits versus
Do you think
Kingpin, because
do you
Deji
think
is
Misfits want
signed
to
to
do that though?
Misfits.
Do you think
Huh?
Mams want to do that?
Yeah, because Misfits paid Deji, Kingpin paid Winterson.
Oh yeah, Mams were like, okay, that's a good point.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
why not? That's exactly how you make that sort of fight. Yeah.
Hmm.
The ego's off the table. Mams make sure Misfits is the A side logo, and that's it. It's a done deal, isn't it?
And that would have to be in Brazil. I guess Deji would much. I guess Brazil.
Yeah, I think that'd be brilliant. Take the party out there. That'd be great. Yeah. I don't think it matters. I think there's a lot of Brazilians over here, like you've seen. There's going to be a lot of Brazilians in Dublin as well for the Kingpin semi-final. So I think now Winterson's done this, and hopefully his home nation of people who live over here in Europe, I think he'd get a good turnout regardless. So I think it could just be in the UK, to be fair. It doesn't have to be in Brazil. It's just how much you want to take the sort of Misfits train over there to expand, like you're saying, the same thing with the Philippines. It's their desire to do it overseas and expand the brand of overseas or not. Otherwise, just bring them back here.
I think Brazil. I think it'd be silly not to do it in Brazil. I
You
think
just
it's way
want to
more
go.
fun. Yeah, I want an excuse to holiday in Brazil. But no, it makes more sense to do in Brazil because you're expanding the brand as well. And it seems a
Yeah.
shame as big a star as Winterson. That fight's probably bigger in Brazil than it is in England, I would say.
I think it taps into that whole new market, doesn't it? And you need to take a big star over there. So if it's not JJ, it should be Dej.
Mm. Okay, that's pretty much everything then, Liam. Anything else?
Or failing that, Liam Payne fights Dej or Bryce Hall, and then let's say Gibb beats Winterson in the final of the Kingpin, have the rematch in Brazil of that. There's a few options there, aren't there? But it depends on the promotions, like you say.
It is a close fight between Gibb and Winterson. But then
Yeah.
unless Winterson gets past King Kenny as well, and that's a tricky fight. But anything else, so Liam?
Or
Yourself?
even Kenny going back there, whoever. But yeah, no, I thought the fight, I thought it was really great. It's obviously a real shame the way the edge is taken off it for JJ on the night. That would have crowned an absolute brilliant event right the way through. I tell you, the one fight I really enjoyed. I came out for the at ringside for I watched the DK Money fight, and that was those guys were hitting hard. And DK come on a leaps and bounds from what we thought, hasn't he? I think he's now even though he got KO'd in absolute spectacular fashion, I thought his performance was strong, put the other guy down. That Viras guy, what an engine. He's so conditioned, isn't he? The way he got through and came back up. I thought that was I hear it. I see he's won the KO of the night, but I think the comeback there, having been knocked down and been hit with some absolute bombs by DK, he looks physically fit, doesn't he? The fact he recovered so quickly, the conditioning there. But I also think DK's taking it very seriously too. He's paired up with you may know Eric, the nutrition guy who helped JJ actually in our camp in Logan too. He lived with us for a month in Vegas. He's Conor McGregor's nutritionist too. I don't know to what level now, but he's working with DK Money, so he's taking it real seriously. He'll be gutted he lost that fight, but I think it's great that there's two new names there in that mix too. They both look very good. So that's that was the highlight really.
They're the Spanish, well, they're the Spanish European champion, Leo Laraja, and that's how you pronounce his name, in his corner as well. So you kind of knew that he was
Really?
going to be decent. Then
Yes, that's right.
that's another excuse to go to Spain. There's a few more
Yeah.
Spanish stars coming out.
Well,
But
Ibiza's Spain, isn't it? So yeah.
oh yeah, that's true. They got that FIFA
Yeah,
card. That's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
point. I know everyone's going to go to that card.
Everyone's
Anyway,
gonna want to be at that card, aren't they? Yeah.
but everyone will still go along though if they're not on the card for the week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That'll be good.
Awesome,
Cool.
that's perfect. Liam, we appreciate you. I see you in Dublin next
Yeah,
week.
can't wait.
Not
It's
next week,
coming
next month.
quick. Yeah, it's about 6 weeks, isn't
Yeah.
it? 5, 6 weeks, 6 weeks.